Back in October, I uploaded a video showcasing a piece of equipment I had my eyes on for a while, the RetroTINK-5X Pro. It was such a miracle worker when it came to my retro consoles. I was singing my praises for it in that video, claiming that it was worth the $130 I spent on it. Today, I'd like to take you through a quick journey of the events that transpired since that video. For starters, I'm not even using it anymore. Why? Because for Christmas, my mom surprised me with Mike G's latest breakthrough, the RetroTINK-5X. Yes. But before that, I'd like to briefly talk about the upgrades and replacements I purchased. Let's begin with the Nintendo S-Video cable I decided to include with my purchase of the 2X Pro. Now, this was most likely my fault, but one of the pins in the connector got bent only 2 days in. When I connected it, the footage only displayed in black and white. Again, this was mostly on me, not being familiar with S-Video, but it did suck. So, there goes that cable. It was only $7, so I'm not really pissed. Thankfully, I was able to buy a replacement cable for $30 from Retro Gaming Cables in the UK, and it has worked wonders since. Now before I get more into detail on how everything is connected, let's check out the RetroTINK-5X. Now, just because I didn't buy it doesn't mean it was free. Like I said, my mom was the one who took the plunge and bought this Christmas present. She even spent an extra $5 to include this little thing. It allows you to use the RGB SCART input as a second composite/S-Video input, which is nice. So yeah, this thing is $300. That may put a lot of people off, but it's still cheaper than the FrameMeister. Anyway, let's check it out. On the front this time, we have 3 buttons labeled Menu, Option, and Input. By the way, they don't do shit anymore. If you flash the most recent update onto it, like I did, the menu is now only accessible with the remote that comes with it. The only button that does anything is the menu button, as it is the one you hold down while connecting the device to your PC to update it. To the left side is the RGB SCART input, which is kind of an awkward spot for it if you ask me. On the back we've got the S-Video input along with component connections, the HDMI output, and the micro USB power. Now you might be asking, what's the difference? Well, that's what this video will cover. First things first, however, let me talk about how everything is hooked up, as I'm sure most of you are curious. Everything ultimately goes to my Elgato HD60S capture card. Let's start simple and talk about the HDMI devices. In my previous video on the 2X Pro, I briefly mentioned towards the end that I wanted to get my hands on a couple HDMI switchers. Well, I'm happy to say I followed through with that investment, and I'm glad I did. Via HDMI, I have the Xbox 360, Xbox One, Wii U, Switch, RetroTINK-5X, PS3, PS4, and now PS5. That was the other big Christmas gift my mom managed to get me. Emphasis on big. Seriously, look at the size of this thing. Anyway, now on to the retro systems. All 4 of them, the PS2, PSP, Wii, and GameCube, go into this switcher from Radio Shack that I found and bought on eBay. Now because the GameCube is S-Video, the switcher can't do S-Video input to component output. So the way I get around it is by connecting the RCA audio into input 1, then connecting the S-Video cable itself directly to the 5X. The other 3 consoles work just fine being connected via component. The PSP cables are from Cyclone, the PS2 cables are from HD Retrovision, and the Wii cables are the official ones from Nintendo. I watched Jack's video on the FrameMeister, and he briefly talked about the Wii to HDMI adapter. Long story short, component cables are superior. Speaking of the Wii, instead of getting mine refurbished, I just ended up buying a new one. Correction, I bought 2, because the first one I bought was a Japanese model. The listing on Mercari didn't specify that. Oh well. The component switcher then goes to the RetroTINK via a male-to-male component cable, which is also from HD Retrovision. Everything is connected to the 2 Kenevo switches that are daisy-chained to each other. This converts everything into one big HDMI connection, which then makes its way to the splitter. The splitter is required for recording PS3 games via HDMI, as it completely removes the annoying HDCP protection shit. With this, I send the signal to my second PC monitor, as well as the capture card. From there, it goes to my 52-inch TV via HDMI, and my main recording PC via USB. That's the basic setup I've got going on here. The PSP I purchased was a Mystic Silver 3000 model, but it has a faulty D-pad that most of the time doesn't register any of my inputs. So, as of this recording, I'm waiting on a Midnight Blue 2000 model that I found on Mercari. Okay, now that we've covered all of that, let's dive into the RetroTINK-5X. Now let me quickly put out this disclaimer. While my 52-inch Vizio supports 1080p and even 1200p sometimes, my recording PC cannot do either, as it has a hard time encoding 1080p and 1200p is flat out not supported on my capture card. So all RetroTINK footage you will see in this video was recorded in 720p at 60 frames per second. Alright, moving on. Previously, the 2X Pro did not support direct 480p input. The 5X now does. It takes 240p, 480i, 480p, and the PAL equivalent 576p, 720p, and 1080i. The latter two are experimental. You can then scale the incoming source to 240p. Yes, you can downscale to 240p if you really wanted to. 480p/576p, 720p, 1080p, 1200p, and even 1440p. Holy shit. But that's not all. The RetroTINK-5X now allows you to scale and crop the image as you see fit. Now, a lot of pixel purists go out of their way to scale every single game just right, regardless of how much space is left on the sides. Not me. I'm not one to really give a shit about all the little things. I'm a firm believer of using as much of the screen real estate as possible. Plus, scaling and cropping helps to remove the overscan you otherwise wouldn't see on a CRT. The menu comes loaded with a heap of settings you can tweak to make your games look astonishing. You can also save and load separate profiles for whatever you're recording. And this holiday greeting from the RetroTINK team is pretty cute, I will admit. I loved getting into this part of the setup, as it allowed me to customize everything the way I prefer. The RGB color space can now be set to either full or limited, which is great because limited is starting to grow on me. Now, with the 2X Pro, I had a slight setback with 240p content, as it was outputting with a frame rate of 59 frames per second. The HD60S took it personally, put simply. I explained in the 2X Pro review the ass-backwards homebrew methods I needed to use for PS1 games when recording them on my PS2. I used what is called the graphic synthesizer mode selector for this. Now with the 5X, 240p line triple to 720p outputs at a native 60 FPS, which means no more graphic synthesizer mode selector for PS1 games. Thank God! Now let me tell you, the difference between 480p and 720p is quite impressive. Here is a gameplay sample of Crash Nitro Kart. The footage on the left is from the old Easy Cell Upscaler. The one in the middle is from the RetroTINK 2X Pro. And now on the right, we have the 5X. It looks even better now that I have the HD Retrovision cables. It's not even close in terms of which one is better. Everything I've thrown at the 5X has done wonders, and I had no problems with it. With the scale/crop feature, I'm even able to play PAL games if I wanted to. As far as this is concerned, I'm still working out a few kinks, but my capture card can record PAL games in 576 at 50 frames with no problems. So look out for some PAL games on this channel. This also allows me to take the tiny PSP screen and blow it up. Though it does look a bit soft compared to everything else, it is still an improvement. I've also created a profile for when I play Game Boy games on the Game Boy Player. I scaled and cropped it so that way you don't see that annoying ass Z button options overlay. Say what you will about the software from the official boot disc, but I personally think it looks fine. Now I heard through the grapevine that this device would introduce 2 to 3 frames of input lag. If there was any, I never noticed. So with all of this new shit that I got for my retro consoles, I can finally put away the old equipment. No more composite, no more cheap component that causes checkerboarding on solid colors, and no more $10 GameStop multi-console cables. I also said goodbye to my original Xbox 360 cable, as that is now connected via HDMI, as I mentioned earlier. It feels so good to finally be free from these shackles, and I'm able to play and record these games at the highest quality possible on their original hardware. As original as possible, of course. I didn't have to jump through any hoops, I didn't need any homebrew tools, and best of all, I didn't even have to do any of the advanced stuff. That's the thing about this device. You can still plug your console into this thing and start playing immediately without needing to make any adjustments. That, in my opinion, is what ultimately sells this device. Being able to just jump right in without needing to do anything else. Now, how does it handle resolution switching, such as 240p to 480i and vice versa? Well, check this out. Yep, seamless. And I haven't even mentioned the motion adaptive deinterlacing. It is heaven. I mean, just look at Gran Turismo 4. It's fucking beautiful! Like I mentioned at the top, I sung my praises for the RetroTINK devices when I finally got my hands on the 2X Pro. And now that I've got the 5X, that love has increased a millionfold. Now, I don't really score anything I review that isn't a video game, but I'm going to make this one-time exception. The RetroTINK-5X gets 10 out of 10.
Holy! Oh my god! 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 Oh my god, no way! No! No! That didn't just happen!
No joke, this is the best upscaler I've been able to use. I love it. Thanks, Mom. Now with all that being said, it's time to ask the day's old question. Is this thing worth $300? Well, if you consider what you're getting for the price you pay, then it definitely is worth the investment. However, if you're somebody who isn't going to use this for videos or any other use, I would just pick up a $20 upscaler and call it a day. In fact, I wouldn't even go near the damn thing in this case, as everything I went over in this video would be considered overkill for you. Plus, if you already have something like the OSSC or the FrameMeister, like I said in the 2X Pro review, you can stick with those. However, do take it into consideration, as this device can answer a lot of the cons that those aforementioned devices introduce, like the resolution switching. The 5X beats the OSSC by a second or two, and the FrameMeister by a wide margin. And the 5X has motion adaptive deinterlacing, in addition to other deinterlacing methods. The OSSC lacks motion adaptive deinterlacing. But at the end of the day, it's up to you. That's what I love about these upscalers. We have more options than just the FrameMeister now, and I gotta be honest with you, I'm glad that FrameMeister deal fell through. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video, found it helpful in some shape or form, or whatever the case may be. If you have any questions, be sure to post them in the comments and I'll get back to you as quickly as I can. I'm Junior Nitro, and I will see you all in the next video. Thank you for watching.